Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the UJSports.com Peach State Power Hour presented by M. Jones Heating and Cooling and also Howard Technologies, which we'll talk about both of those here in a little while. But before we get going, guys, as always, we appreciate you joining us on your Sunday evening. Let us know where you're watching from. And as always, as well, your comments help move and generate the show so we can keep it going. We're going to be talking a lot about the Dogs and the Texas Longhorns, the game last night. Also, we'll talk a little Falcons as well. They let down. You can never have both in the same weekend. So
no, you can't.
I think Andy and Eddie will both take the Georgia win, though. So
oh yeah.
Before we get going, Eddie, how was your weekend, my friend?
It was great. And Paul, it's wonderful to have you back. I really missed you, buddy. Yeah. I mean, shout out to Dane Young for sitting in last week. I missed you. And then I got a text after the show last week from Andy. It said, I didn't even miss Paul at all. It was a seamless show.
I didn't even realize you weren't here. That's what
I could send you that text here. So
yeah, if you could screenshot that'd be great. Thank you.
So we got two quick things. Fortunately, I'm here. I thought you were going to be one less podcaster. I almost got killed in a car wreck on Wednesday. It was absolutely horrific. Driving up in Raleigh, North Carolina, guy pulled in front of me going 60 miles an hour, and I swerved to avoid a head-on collision, and it was frightening as hell. And everybody says, I say to my kids, I say to my wife, be careful on the road. You can't be careful when you're barreling down the road and somebody just turns in front of you. So I walked away with a scratch. I have it right there on my wrist. That's it. I'm alive and here to talk about it. So thank you, God, that I'm still here. So another day to live. And secondly, Paul, this is for you mainly. Some advice as you're raising your children. How old's your oldest child?
16 months.
Okay, so you don't have a bedtime really yet, right?
Well, 7:30 on the dot, brother. Yeah.
Okay. Well, going forward, as that gets harder to do, if you tell your child he has to go to bed at 8, he throws a bottle at you, just let him stay up till midnight. Then you'll be done, right?
I see what you're doing.
It took you a second, huh? Yeah. You see what I'm getting there?
I got you.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing there. Last week, Sunday night, real quick, Andy, Sunday night last week. So I started off the Rex before Eddie.
Yeah.
I was watching the show with you guys. We were at Publix, and we were on our way back to Airbnb, and our Lyft got hit and run. And my idiotic self decided to get in another vehicle with some random stranger and go chase down the vehicle. We found it. But it was
like Batman or something. Like
I felt like it. So we had on the ship, we had walkie-talkies, right? There were 3 couples, my sister, her husband, and then a best friend of myself and my wife. And we all had nicknames for the walkie-talkies. And ours was Hit and Run because Nicole got hit and I ran. So we were hit and run on the walkie-talkies there. So we got Foster Moss in the bill. We got the usual suspects, guys. Chet Summers, Alex Page, Mountain Man, Johnny Ballgame, Marsh Mutz here. Dr. Andrew Middlebrooks Senior's here. Chris Garcia said, didn't all 3 of y'all pick Texas? No, only 2.
No. 2 of the guys did, but not this guy. No.
We got Kevin in here. Kenneth. We got a lot of folks. Andy, your weekend, my friend, and take a victory lap.
I will take that victory lap because apparently, according to the national media and Garrett Key, if he's watching, sorry, Garrett, I had to call you out.
We'll be here soon.
The Georgia Bulldogs were dead. Like, did we not know that Texas had taken over the SEC? They had taken over college football.
They're back.
Sark is the greatest coach that's ever lived, apparently. They have the best quarterback. They got the 2 best quarterbacks in the country, I guess. They got the best offensive line. Well, we still have Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart is still the best coach in college football. And how about them Dogs? So, yes, my weekend was great. I hate that the Falcons lost today, but, hey, the Dogs win. Everything's good to go.
Yep. Kevin Boyd's in the building. We know it's going to be a good time. So, let's get right into it. 30-15, Georgia wins. Probably the biggest game of the year, I would say, nationally. That Oregon-Ohio State game.
Ohio State was big, yeah.
I missed that one. We were doing the post-game show, so I didn't get to watch that one. But Georgia-Texas was up there, and Texas was ready to go. Their highest attendance of any game. They hit well over 105,000. They had game day there. I mean, it was their first SEC game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that first drive starts, Georgia goes 3 and out, couple drop passes. and you're looking around and you're, it's funny because the text messages in the group chats I'm in, they start heavy first quarter.
Oh, yeah.
You're almost play by play in the first quarter. Second quarter, it kind of dwindles down a little bit. Third quarter, right after halftime, sparks back up. Then third into fourth, until about 7 minutes in the fourth, it's dead silence. Everybody's focused on the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting text messages like crazy. Man, this isn't the start. This is terrible. Here we go. Same old, same old. And it was the same old for the offense.
Mm-hmm.
The defense, though, completely changed up their momentum of the entire season. This is the defense that we thought Georgia was going to have all year, and we hope Georgia will have moving through the rest of the year. Now, time will tell, right? But watching Damon Wilson come off an edge, Michael Williams, Jalen Walker, you saw freshman Chris Cole in there making some plays.
He looked good. Yeah.
I mean, this defense is for real. There's some players on this thing, and this is the first time I want to say in a while, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that Georgia's had like 3 or 4 dudes on the outside edge that you could rotate and actually get to the passer. Because I can't think of another time where you had Jalen Walker, Michael Williams, Damon Wilson, Gabe Harris, even some. You had 4 guys on the outside.
Chaz Chambliss, I mean, throw him in there, right?
Yeah, Chaz can get to the quarterback. Like, you got guys out there that you can rotate. Normally, it's just a one-man show if Georgia even has it. Sackman Jones, David Pollock. I mean, Nolan Smith. He was kind of a lone ranger on the outside by himself. Yes, he had those guys in the interior, but that was what got me pumped up last night, was watching those guys on the outside just get after it. Yeah. So totally changed the mindset of the team. Georgia still have not played a full 4-quarter game, though. The third quarter was rough, right? And we'll get into that. But the first half was a thing of beauty. Yes, they scored 23 points. They should have probably scored 38 if the offense was good. That's where they were at. So I'll quit talking and let you guys talk a little bit. So
was it 8 drop passes? Is that what Kirby said?
That's what I have circled, 8.
Okay. What if they only drop 4 of those? Do we score 2 more touchdowns if they only drop 4? Because, there were several plays. The one, like, I was texting you guys, like, I love Lawson Lucky, and then he drops a pass right after that,
Well, he dropped it. It was an interception, right?
I'm not talking about that one. I was talking about low end. But it's like, if you only drop 4 of those passes, maybe you don't get a turnover. Maybe you go score, and it's not even close. I mean, in given, I think we pretty much dominated them, even though we played bad. But that defense, when you were talking about, same old, this is the same old defense from 21-22. This looked like what we have grown to see under Kirby. And also, we had some running game going. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
That was what I was really impressed. The offensive line, the defensive line. That was the biggest thing that I really been wanting to see, and we saw it last night.
We've got Ed Pollock in the building, guys. What's up? He says, "What's up, Paul? How about them Dogs?" Ed's a good guy. If you're ever in the Athens area, he's probably umpired your son's baseball game many a times. He is he doesn't play. He's good. He's a good dude. So good to see him watching. Eddie, what's up?
Does he ever turn calls when they throw stuff on the field?
Dude, you don't. So Ed's a pretty big guy. Nobody's trying to overturn anything Ed says. Now, if I was out there with him in my younger years, 19 or 20, they might get in my face. But if I had Ed out there with me, we're all right.
All right. Well, good. Well, y'all touched on it. I mean, it's the defense. And I want to say this, how important, and this is crazy to think about, really, how important is Michael Williams being healthy to Jalen Walker? Because it seemed to me, since the Clemson game, Jalen Walker went bananas in the Clemson game, right? And Michael Williams was healthy there till he got cheap shotted on the leg, and he's out. Jalen Walker's not been the same player since. We're all kind of standing around going, where is this guy? He's the leader. He's supposed to be – he's the heart and soul of this defense. Michael Williams being healthy makes Jalen Walker a better player. Right.
Well, you're a one-man show, and now you don't have to be a one-man show.
I know, 100%. It takes some pressure off him. Jalen Walker is a man possessed, and I was so proud of the way he played football. And one more inside, it's not going to get a lot of credit because he didn't make a lot of stats. Warren Brinson on the inside was phenomenal. He was.
I think everybody.
Oh man,
everybody on that interior line. Christian Miller.
Yeah,
absolutely.
PID.
But I noticed Warren Brinson just eating up blocks a lot of the time, and the line was not being pushed backwards. We were pushing them into their backfield. This is the defense we've been waiting for to show up, and it was so nice. It was just absolute chaos. Okay, there's the good. The bad on this is the constant. This game, you guys said it. This game should have been, I'll just say it, 48-7. So it
Probably,
should have been,
yeah.
it should have been a laugher, and we're all just kicked up watching this thing. And Georgia makes it painful. It's just 4th and 1. We can't get the first down. The drop pass to London Humphreys right across the middle. That ends the football game.
Yeah.
Drop. It's just we stopped them on 3rd down. Oh, wait, face mask. So they're back on the field. It's just over and over and over. And Andy, I think you and I talked about this. This is somebody else. It wasn't you. This is the kind of thing we're going to have to live with this football team.
We are.
It's just they're a really good football team, but it's going to drive you crazy. It's not going to be like we were 15-0 a couple years ago, where everything was just boom, boom, boom. We got this lined up. It's going to be hard, but I am so doggone proud of the way they played. They smacked Texas in the doggone mouth. I loved it.
And that's what I sent you guys that text. And I said, this isn't the 2021, 2022 team. This isn't the dominant. This isn't the dominant defense, which although last night they looked like they turned back the clock, but we don't have Stetson to kind of do his thing and make that play. We don't have Brock Bowers, who I saw set some kind of rookie record for tight ends or something today. Yeah. We don't have those guys, but we're still as good as anyone. We proved last night, and even in that second half versus Bama, we can go out there and we can beat anyone. So maybe we're not the dominant team we once were, or were 2 years ago. I don't want to sound like Kirk Herbstreit and saying the Dogs are still here, but we're still as good as anyone. So if we're not dominant but still great, I like it. So
let me kick this back to Paul. Paul, we had 41 passes last night and 28 runs. Okay, and I'm sure on the POS show, everybody's. Bobo's just that thing. Everybody gets onto Bobo. But I was really kind of upset with Bobo last night. I'll admit it. Yeah. Because ETN, to me, was lathered up. He was running the ball hard in that first and second series. And then all of a sudden, Bobo just abandoned the run and started whipping the ball around. And I was like, come on, feed this dude.
And the offensive line was getting pushed.
Exactly right. So, Paul, I want you to comment on that. Talk about, do you think Bobo got a little pass happy there and we didn't need to?
So I think if you look at the past few weeks, right, the offense has been extremely pass happy. I think they had a stat on the game that said Georgia's like
70% passing or something.
Yeah, something like that. And normally they're hovering around 47% passing during Kirby's tenure, so very split. I think that they came into the game thinking they would have to pass a lot more than they did, and then Georgia's offensive line kind of, showed up, if you will, and it was a different ballgame. I don't know what happened with ETN, because we talked about this last night. There was a time frame there in the 3rd to 4th quarter, 2 or 3 drives, we just didn't see him. It was just straight passes. Yeah. And it was one of those times where you tried to put the game away, I feel like, in that scenario. But at the same time, Georgia, and we haven't even got to the craziness of how Texas got their points, but, this game kind of got weird. It got very weird, very fast, because you're up 23-0. You come out, everybody thinks you squib kick. No, he just missed the ball.
He missed the ball. Kirby said he screwed that up. Not throwing his player under the bus, but he did say he missed the kick.
Yeah.
Right. So, that I've never seen that happen before.
I know.
Especially not out of Woodring. It's never happened. So you have that happen, then you try to get off the field on 2 third downs, penalty, they score.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to move the ball a little bit, and the pass interference call gets overturned, and it's an interception back. So now you're looking at a game that's a one-score game, 23-15. And I think that whatever game plan they had at halftime, maybe, hey, let's start feeding ETN. And ETN carried the ball 19 times.
He did.
And it felt like he had a lot more yards than he did. I mean, the Georgia rushing attack, 30 attempts for 108 yards, less than 4 yards a carry, almost 3.5, 3.6. So, maybe we thought the run game was going a little bit smoother than it actually was. If you look at the stats, because it felt like it at times, he's getting
It felt
6
like he was just. It did.
But you go look at it, it's like, I don't know if he
19 for 87. He did get 3 touchdowns, but still, there was. It did feel like we were just dominating them on the offensive line and running the ball, but maybe we weren't. So,
Paul, do you think part of the preparation? I'm not an analytical guy. I don't know how the preparation goes. Part of their mindset as coaches were like, this is probably going to be a shootout. We've got to prepare the passing game and be ready for that. And that was the game plan. And at times it didn't pan out that way, but they just stuck with that game plan and said, we're passing the ball.
Yeah. That, and we've seen it the last 2 weeks, right? 48 attempts, 50 attempts. Like that's just kind of Georgia's MO this year, and it very well could be. Kevin Boyd says, "Hey, do you think it's because they're so thin at running back? It could be something like that."
Yeah, but Etienne he's really good.
He's really good.
But he gets going. Oh,
but
man.
I've said this, and I'll keep saying it. This season is all about making it to the finals, right? It's all about
that's
depth.
a good point.
It's all about making sure your guys are healthy, because as it showed last night, there is no dominant team in college football.
There's not.
Right.
Yeah.
And anybody out of the top 12, anybody out of the top 12, and you can beat anybody in the top 12 on any given night.
Yeah.
So what you need is your horses to be there for you at the end.
Yep.
And if you run your horses into the ground in a game where, you feel like you have the game for the most part, right? You feel like this is one up. Maybe you don't go back to Etienne right there. But I agree. There were some times where it was like, dude, you got to get him the ball, man. And you say, okay, well, if you're not going to give it to Etienne, give it to Frazier. They tried to get Frazier going. He just wasn't getting going.
He wasn't getting going.
And you can't bring in Dwight Phillips, who hasn't played a single snap for Georgia.
No.
You can't bring in Chauncey Bowens.
Yeah.
You're left with Cash Jones at that point.
Yeah.
And they tried to get Cash going. He didn't run. He didn't have a run attempt. But he was back there a little bit. I agree. You got to feed the studs, is what Ed Pollock says. You got to feed the studs. I totally agree with that.
Well, is some of this maybe Jared Wilson being back and not being 100%? He's back, but he's not like he's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then never mind.
I think Wilson's fine.
Okay.
This whole season for Georgia offensively is going to be just try to survive and put up enough points to make sure. All right, there's not going to be a guy that jumps out to you and puts up crazy numbers. This is what we've got, right? And obviously, I'm not expecting Carson Beck to go 23 of 41 for 175 and 3 interceptions every game.
Yeah.
But I'm also not expecting Carson to go for 450 and 4 touchdowns like he did have to do against. Like, there's going to be a counterbalance, and I can tell you right now, Kirby's very upset with the drops. So what comes of that, though, I don't know.
And, I asked you guys that in the text thread. I was like, is this something they're being taught? Like, or is it a technique, or is it just not focusing on the ball? Like, because there's no way James Coley is saying, "Oh, catch this way," and there can't be anything like that. So
no, well, I mean, your perfect example of that is London Humphreys, right? He turned to look at where the guy was and took his eyes off the football, and he drops it. So things like now the one to Lucky that was an interception, it hit his hands. I was a receiver in high school.
Brock Bowers is coming down with that. Honestly, I was up there.
Probably, yeah. But I was a receiver in high school. The ball hits your hands, that's a catch. It should be a catch every time. And the ball hit his hands, right? A little high. But, that bounced off, and then that cost us a touchdown right there, and they get an interception off of that. But the one Dylan Bell, the first one, the slant, that's just a flat-out drop right there, because he just dropped that. Yeah. Now, the second one Dylan Bell dropped, a little bit behind him. He had to kind of torque his body. But still, in the hands, he's got to make that play. So I
would say that he has to make that play.
To your point, Andy, there's nothing really that coaches can say and do and drill in their heads. This is what we got to do to fix this. It's just in-game stuff happens, right? The ball's not always going to be where it should be, and they got to make adjustments. But Paul, you're right. We don't have Brock Bowers, and he's not making those catches.
James Carraway says that there's so many option routes. It looks like receivers are having to think a million miles an hour versus catch the ball. That could be true. But it's the same offense from last year, though.
Yeah.
So
I know.
You know, they didn't look like this last year. It just was different guys. And Kirby even hinted at that in the press conference after the game. He said, you know,
he did
we don't
say
have
that.
the same guys out there.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get your guys' opinion on this, and I don't know which way I fall on this. Kirby has been very backing of Carson Beck, for lack of a better word. Like he's like, this Carson, you know, Carson's getting drops. You know, like Carson played a great game. Like it's almost like he's having to like reassure Carson in these press conferences.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems weird. Like Kirby normally doesn't do that. And he's having to come out and be like, it's not Carson. Basically, like, it's not Carson's fault. You know, Carson's played a good game. And he said it over and over because in the press conference, you know, beat writers are asking, hey, your star quarterback who is, you know, projected to be the first quarterback off the board just threw for 23 of 41 with 3 picks.
Yeah.
And his reaction isn't, yeah, you know, we've got to make some better reads on some of those. He instantly
went back to the drops.
Yeah, he's like, it's not Carson's fault, basically.
Right.
Yeah, when whoever the girl was that asked him about that, that's what she said. Carson's struggling, and he said, "Is that your opinion?" He said, "Because that's not my opinion." Like he was quick to jump. And
yes, he was.
I've been noticing that too. It's almost like he's worried that Carson has some, you know, some confidence issues, and so he is trying his best. And because where do you go if something happens that we have to make a change? I don't think. I wouldn't want that. Let's just say that we don't need to make that change. So, but yeah, I don't know. It does seem a little weird to me and a little strange. So.
What do you think?
Well, it did kind of struck me as odd what you're saying, Paul. What he said, he went right back to the drops. He said, "Those first 2 drops, your confidence falls off as a quarterback, right?" And he was kind of trying to boost him up. But I'll go back to the pass he threw in traffic to Urasek. I mean, he's got 2 guys wide open. Beyond that, and he throws it in traffic to Urasek. So you can't tell me that yes, Beck is down on the because of the drops, but he's making bad throws on top of that. He's making bad decisions, right? It seems to me. So the 2 coupled together. Here's what it is, Paul. What did Sark do when Ewers was having trouble?
He changed quarterback.
He changed quarterbacks. Okay. Yeah. Are you going to Gunnar Stockton right now? We don't have that option. Now, I'm not saying he should, and I'm not saying if a great quarterback's sitting there, they should put him in, but we ain't got that option. Okay. It's Beck or die. That's what it is.
And Eddie, you mentioned Urasek. Do you think he is forcing the balls to other guys like Urasek because he's thinking, okay, Dylan Bell's dropping balls, Arian Smith's dropping balls?
I don't think so.
You don't think he's just trying to get to someone else?
That happens so fast, Andy. You know, he's you know what I mean? I really don't think in the moment he's thinking about that. He's just throwing the ball. And at the moment he saw what he thought was I don't know how, if you go back and watch that, but he saw something there and he threw it to Urasek, and it was a bad read. And Beck's been doing that all year.
Yes, he's been making a lot of bad reads.
He makes a bad read, and there's a guy streaking wide open, and he's throwing it down or checking back, and there's 2 guys covering the guy.
And I think the thing that's so frustrating is then he'll make a play, like he'll hit somebody just with a laser pass.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what
100%.
If he can, you know, kind of get it all in together, and maybe he doesn't have to be excellent, but if he's more just above average, like maybe his above average is better than most anybody in the country. And that's what
he tucks that ball and takes that incredible run he made. That was a massive play in that football.
I mean, that's a gamer. That's a game. That's one of those game-changing plays.
Absolutely.
That's got Emma Jones' game-changing play on it right there.
Yep.
Yeah, it does. Ed Pollock says Carson needs to pick up Stetson Bennett's old chip on the shoulder and play with some swagger. I think also we're used to the past couple of years. I mean, Carson was a quarterback last year, but Kirby would shoo Stetson out, and that's how he knew he could get to Stetson. Right? Yeah. Carson, I think it's just more, you know, you gotta pat him on the back. Hey, good job, kid. You know, and that's just it's one way is not better than the other, right? But that's just the way it's got to be, and so. You're getting in these press conferences very different answers, I feel like, than you used to with Stetson at the helm. And,
well, every kid's different too, Paul. I mean, chewing out Stetson Bennett may have worked for him. You go chew out Carson Beck, he may shrink into I don't know. You know, I'm just saying every kid is wired a little bit differently, and Kirby knows how to handle these kids better than we do. So
yeah, now, you can tell it's a different vibe of how he works with him versus how he worked with Stetson. Because
no doubt,
Stetson would be. Shoot, he'd be completing 75% of his passes and 3 touchdowns and ran for one.
You'd see it, and then Stetson's giving it back to him.
Yeah, and that's what he would yell at him. That's what was.
And with Carson, there's no yelling. He just comes over to Carson. Hey, man, just make
okay.
that throw a little better. It's. But that goes to show you how smart coaching ability.
Exactly. That's the difference.
Be able to read those guys and just handle them differently.
Yeah.
The new AP poll, guys, is out, and we can touch on this. We'll do our M Jones player of the game, and then we'll touch on the beer bottles on the field. New AP poll is out. Oregon, number 1, so fighting Dan Lannings. Georgia at number 2. Penn State was off, so they moved back 1 to 3. Ohio State and then Texas. Again, there's a handful of teams that are undefeated, with one of them being Indiana. So Oregon and Penn State are really the only two. They are the only two left in the top 5 that are undefeated. You guys okay with how the AP poll, shook out?
Go ahead, Andy.
I think so. I mean,
kind of how I had it. So
yeah, it's me too. You look at since Ohio State did lose to Oregon, so that makes sense for Georgia to go above them. And Penn State, you could maybe get upset about that one if you're Penn State, and maybe even Miami could get a little upset. But I mean, come on, it's
Who's 5? Who's 5? Is it Texas?
That's Texas. So
that's where I think, Andy, I think Miami's been slighted. I mean, I know you can watch them play and you're like, they're winning miracle games. They keep winning and winning and winning, and Cam Ward is something else.
And who has Texas beat? Texas beat
in my opinion,
Oklahoma team that just fired their OC. So.
Yeah, watching Miami play, they're better than Penn State at this point. I'll give them that. So,
dude, Penn State, come on.
I know, exactly.
I looked it up. The first college football playoff comes out not next weekend, but the weekend after. So I think it's like that Tuesday after the Georgia-Florida game. Will be our first. And I'm the real one. Right. I'm so curious to see, because it's always been about the 4, right? And now they're 12.
Now it's 12.
Where do they, what do they put as the qualifiers to get in that 12? Are they going to put in 6 SEC schools because they've just all been beating up on each other? Is Indiana going to make a run if they keep winning to the top 2 or 3? Because they are. I don't know. I'm just very curious with all that.
So I did see this. This is what the college football playoff would look like as of today. So the first round would have Boise State playing Penn State, so it'd be 12-5, and then it would have LSU playing Tennessee at 9-8.
Wow.
BYU playing Ohio State. BYU's 11, Ohio State 6, and Clemson 10, and Texas at 7. And then whoever wins the Clemson Texas game would go on to play the number 2 ranked team in the country, Georgia. So, so it'd be interesting. So,
I'm also curious to see how those playoffs work, if they want to do those rematches again, or if they're going to try to.
Yeah, they'll play with those numbers.
Shift them around.
Yeah. But the first 2, like you mentioned, Indiana,
all that. We got a ton of football to go. I mean, take care of itself, right?
We do. And something. Well, you know what? Before we get to the M Jones players of the game. What about the beer cans on the field, guys? You guys didn't show up on the POS last night, and rightfully so. We went on for a long time. You get a whole hour to yourselves on Sunday night, so I probably would do the same. That was strange to me. And then they came out while we were on the show, the SEC office, and said that the referee erred on the call, and basically they said, the call was messed up, but please don't throw trash on the field. Like, there was never a, hey, this shouldn't have been reversed type thing. And so I guess this is me trying to look at it from the other side of the ref's perspective. They hadn't started play on the next play yet because the beer bottles were still in play. So technically, they still had time to review it. Now, the other side.
That's not reviewable. The
other side of that is that, no, you can't. So you can in a certain instance, right? Because, like, let's say you call that and then you get together, they can pick the flag back up. It can be.
They'd already done that, Paul. Go ahead. I'll go ahead.
But they had already spotted the ball at the new spot. Now, once that happens, and I'm glad we have Ed Pollock in here because he's also a head referee and he's done many state championship games. Ed, answer this for me. Once you spot the ball, can you then move the ball back? And Ed might have he might source some rule up for us that you can, but I don't think you can. And the beer bottles being thrown on the field absolutely changed the outcome of their.
It did.
James, yeah, I had trouble with the air word last night. It was rough. It was rough last night. So I'm glad I got it right. Them watching the replay on the screen changed their outcome.
Yes.
So where do we go from here? Because I said last night, I said, look, Ole Miss, gets pissed off at a call against Georgia.
Stuff. Yeah. Because there was no penalty for them. Why did they not get penalized? Why was there not some sort of 15-yard personal, unsportsmanlike delay a game, something? Why did they not get a penalty? Because I'm glad. I told you guys, I'm glad that they changed it because I did not want to hear Mechie and Williams. I knew that would be their Mechie and Williams excuse. Well, if this didn't happen, we would have beat Georgia. I'm glad we didn't have that. However, why did they not get a 15-yard penalty or something? Because that's got to be. You can't just throw stuff on the field and say, okay, let's play. Let's go back and play ball again. That was my biggest issue. Right.
Eddie, it was Texas. It was Texas's first real big SEC game, and they throw beer bottles onto the field.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Those little bitches got their way. That's the way you got to look at it, right? It worked. I can go back to the Braves. Did the Braves get their way with the infield fly? No. Okay. I mean, we'll put that aside. Here's the problem I had with that. If you go back and watch that play, Arian Smith's progress was impeded. Okay. There was hand checking there. His progress was impeded. That's pass interference. They had already made the call. As you said, Paul, they spotted the ball ready to go. No beer bottles on the field. You know what happens next? Snap on to the next play. It's done. Right. The beer bottles came on the field and the refs got together. And what are they doing?
They watch the TV.
Of course, they're showing it on the Jumbotron. Yeah. Texas is showing it over and over and over. So they basically reviewed the play, which is not a reviewable play, and they reversed it.
So I think that's what they're saying, right?
Absolute job. I mean, thank God. Kirby even said it in the post-game press conference. We got jobbed 10 times in this game, and we figured out a way to win because that was an absolute screw job what they did to us.
And that's how they're getting around that, right? They didn't actually review it, but they just watched it. And that's
right.
But that's how they were able to move it back, right? Or to get rid of the flag because they didn't technically review. That's what that's what I was reading.
I think so Ed says at worst the play on Arian Smith was definitely holding. I think, right? And he also says the officials can discuss any play prior to the next to make sure they apply the rule correctly.
And they did that.
Yeah.
They did that. And they spotted the ball and we're ready to go. Oh, well, beer bottles on the field. We're going to watch.
But that's what the SEC and the refs are going to say, that they hadn't started play for the next one and that they can move. Look, that's how they're going to try to get out of this. We all know it was a complete sham in a crazy play. And what makes it even crazier is apparently the head referee, he's got a business in TCU, or he went to TCU. He's got a business in Texas, and one of his sons goes to Texas.
Yep.
I don't know if that, maybe that should be a disqualifier for a game like this.
Maybe. Are you kidding me?
I don't know. That to me just seems a little bit fishy. But you're right, Andy. Though I'm kind of glad that Texas did get it because Georgia still whooped up on them.
Yep.
And was able to win with that. But it changed the outcome of that game drastically.
It did.
Sure it did.
If that doesn't happen, we probably win 30-8 maybe, or maybe we 38-8, something like that. So.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just it wasn't a good look for college football last night in general. And it wasn't a good look for refs who seem to always be catching the bad side of calls, whether you feel that it's right or wrong. They're always the bad guys. And it just kind of kept that going last night. And the fact that, that play happened and then they said it didn't happen and completely, I thought for sure, guys, when they were huddled up, I was like, okay, they're assessing Is this a 5-yard penalty for the trash throwing? Is this a 15-yard penalty?
Yep.
And then he comes back on and like the pass interference is no more. And what? This is the thing?
So maybe what comes out of this to our
right
is the fact going forward that if fans throw crap on the field in your home field, that's an automatic 15-yard penalty. That's what should happen. Okay, that's a delay of game, 15-yard penalty, safety of the player. Secondly, the targeting. We hadn't even talked about that. The 3 targeting plays. Okay, in my opinion, one of them was probably targeting. The other 2 were not. But that should be looked at as well, because I don't think there should at least be a warning, because those are bang, bang plays. Okay. The guy's lowering his head to make the play. The defense or the guy who has the football is also lowering his head. Yeah. Those should be a warning first, and then you're kicked out. I hate the targeting call. Boom, 15 yards out of the game. And by the way, it hurts us for Florida. 2 of those guys are out for the half. Jonel Aguero and Dan Jackson out for the first half.
That hurts.
I thought those were awful calls because they were vicious hits. And the refs are like, oh my God, that's a vicious hit. Flag out. I just hate that.
And why does the offense never get called for targeting? Why can they lower their head? And because they're doing the exact same thing. Exactly. So why do they not get, why is it not like an offsetting targeting or at least kick them both out? I don't understand why offenses do not get targeting calls.
I know I'm biased, Paul, but I thought the officiating last night was absolutely atrocious, top to bottom. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was really bad last night, and it was so bad that Kirby went into the post-game presser and talked about it, knowing that there's probably a fine coming down the line on Monday.
And Kirby never says any. You know, even when the 2018 national championship game, he does not say Tyler Simmons. He never. He's like, we just didn't pull it through, and we all know we watched it. Tyler Simmons was on sides. And we saw last year in the SEC championship game that was a drop pass over there on the right side. And, you know, so it's like Kirby never says anything. Last night he called him out. And if he's going to call him out, you know he's upset. And
hell, so you got Josh Brooks, our AD, right?
Yes.
Street about it, right?
Yeah. 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
Yeah. 4:30 in the morning. Yeah. You know, it's one of those things where had this game, luckily for Georgia, they won this game. Had this game gone the other way, dear God. I said last night, Governor Kemp was at the game. He would have called the Georgia National Guard. We'd be in Texas right now. We'd be in Austin fighting. It'd be a damn civil war going on because of what happened last night. And I think, you know, Kirby he said it after the game, just impressed and the resiliency of his team. I think this was a huge turning point for this team. Yeah,
I agree.
The offense looked terrible. Offense was garbage. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. It just didn't look good.
Nope.
But the way that they were both able to come together, they still put up 30 points on the board, and the defense was dominant. Special teams was dominant. This is a turning point for a team that we all thought was shaky. It was shaky. We were talking last week about leadership. Who are the leaders? Apparently, Kirby said that, you know, Wednesday he called the leaders in and said, hey, y'all got to lead. Somebody's got to do something because it wasn't just us, guys. It wasn't just us from the outside seeing that. It was from the inside as well. And this is a complete kind of, I feel, a huge turning point for Georgia in their season.
You remember in 2019 when LSU, they looked like they were going to be that team, but they weren't blowing people out. They went and beat Alabama. When they beat Alabama, they turned it on to a next level. And, of course, now when we played them in the SEC championship game, I still think if that pass hits McCole Hardman, it's a different story, but we won't go there. But you saw when they beat Alabama, they took it to the next level and went on to dominate and win the national championship. This could be that turning point for the Dogs. They say, okay, they're supposed to be the number one team. Don't forget about us. And it's one of those games that just gives you that momentum. It gives you the confidence. It gives you all those things.
Yeah, it's one game at a time, old BTD Troutman says, and you're right. This is just that building blocks. Speaking of building blocks, guys, the M. Jones play of the game brought to you by our friends at mjoneshvac.com. Let me get them up on the screen right here while we go through our picks with the M. Jones. Why is this not pulling up?
And let's shout out while you're doing that. Let's shout out Kirby Smart. 100 wins as the head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs. How
what
about
a way
that?
What a way to do it, huh?
I mean, it's not like he just beat a Division II school. He went out there and beat the #1 team in the country. And
you know what? You know what's amazing about that, Andy? In his press conference, he was asked about that, and he was like, "I'm shocked." He's like, "I didn't when I started coaching here at Georgia, 100 wins seemed 30 years ahead." Or he didn't say that, but you know what I'm saying? He's just like kind of shocked that he got there that fast. Just unbelievable. What a job.
Our friends over at M. Jones HVAC, they are a local Georgia Metro Atlanta company servicing your HVAC needs. Guys, a couple things you can do, right? You can hit this contact button. It's mjoneshvac.com. Hit this contact button right here. You can chat with one of their experts. You can email the owners here, or you can just fill this out. Put in your first name, last name. See, if I was going to do Eddie, I'd do Eddie. And then Pessimiz.
That'd be Garrett Key. He was on that.
Yeah, he's worse.
But no, you can put that in right there. Have them contact you. Guys, with this M. Jones HVAC, up to 10% off of your repairs and 5% off of new systems. And again, I'll mention it real quick. We're running out of time, but 2025, January 1st, 2025, they are changing how they do HVAC and the refrigerant that's used. And this, if you need it, and this isn't just me talking to you, trying to sell you something, because we're not getting any kickback off of them selling you any units. If you're thinking about changing out your unit, now is the time to do so before 2025, so you can get in on that old 2024 refrigerant.
10% off, 5% off if you mention UGA Sports when you call them or text them or email them.
That's a big number, yeah.
And by the way, it's cold out here. I'm ready for a furnace to kick on. Right, my
wife's
already
Andy. What's our weather looking like this week?
I think we're going to be about in the 70s, like this. So we're going to have a good fall week. Yeah. So
there we go. Good. M. Jones play of the game. The play of the game. We'll start with Andy. Andy, what you got?
So my play of the game was we're 5:26 left in the game, and Texas had the ball driving, and it was 4th and 12. And Quinn Ewers, he completed the pass to Ryan Wingo, but we stopped him, and he didn't get the first down. And when that happened, Georgia pretty much had the game in control at that point. So that's my M. Jones play of the game.
I like that one. Eddie, what you got?
3rd and 10. Texas has just gone and made the score 23-15. And if y'all remember on the kickoff, they blasted Anthony Evans. You remember that? The place was going bonkers.
Oh, momentum was gone.
It was absolutely gone. 100%. 3rd and 10. I think we're on our own 25, maybe 30, something like that. I don't know. We were deep in our own territory.
I think we were in like the 19-yard line or something.
Whatever. It was bad. It was really bad. And Carson threw a dart to Arian Smith for a first down, 3rd and 10. And the next play was that trick play where he hit Lawson Lucky. Was it Lawson Lucky or Delp? I don't remember.
It was Oscar Delp.
It was Oscar Delp on that trick play, and that got us down. That we ended up scoring there. If we don't get that first down and we punt that football, I think we lose the football game. Because the momentum, like you said, Paul, had come. Even the announcers, Kirk Herbstreit and Fowler, are talking about, hey, the Mo is gone for Georgia. It's all in Texas's favor. And like we talked about here just a minute ago with Beck, he throws a pass and he drives you crazy. He throws that dart to Arian Smith, and there you go. We're going to win the football game. Massive.
This is a good one from Trevor. He says the Everett sack. That was a big one.
Yep.
And he laid him out too.
Oh my God. I have a note on that, by the way.
I'm going one that I don't think people would see. I'm going with this one. First drive of the game, Georgia gets the ball, obviously, because Texas won the toss. They deferred. They're at home. They want that crowd to be in there, and you want to get that second half, first possession. Georgia runs 3 plays with 2 drops included in those for a total of 4 yards and 1 minute off the clock. And you're sitting there going, man, oh, man. And the Aussie. Brett Thorson comes in and knocks a 58-yarder to put them back on their own Texas 13-yard line. That changed the game for me. The momentum was gone for Georgia, and it was early.
Yeah.
With 2 drops already. I mean, it wasn't looking good. if he shanks that thing and they get the ball at the 50, or they, this thing could look like Alabama 2.0.
Yeah.
Instead, he pins them back to their own 13. They do run a 7-play, 26-yard drive, but they have to punt the ball. They never cross their side of the field. That's the most yards they had the entire first half was on that first drive. It set the momentum for Georgia moving forward. That was my play of the game, because he did it all. You could look at every one of his
all that long.
Oh yeah.
But that first one for me was like, really need something good to come of this, because that first drive was horrendous on offense, and he stuck them back there on their own 13, and they really never got their offense going off of that first drive moving forward in the game.
We may have the best kicker and punter combo in the country.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'll take it one step further. Peyton Woodring's 3 field goals were massive. I mean, he doesn't hit those 3 field goals, we lose that football game. And one of them, if you look at it, it kind of went to the right, was like, oh my God, it's a miss, and it came back in. So, I mean, both of those legs are huge for this football team.
Yeah. So that's my M. Jones play
Great
of the game.
Call. I like it, Paul.
Switching over to the M. Jones player of the game. Since we went with you first, Andy, we'll go with Eddie. What you got?
Dalen Everett.
Yeah.
7 tackles, 1 sack, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery. And my favorite play of the game, you talked about it, Andy, was when he mashed Quinn Ewers. Okay.
Yes.
Now go back and watch that play. He set that up perfectly because he was eyeing the receiver in front of him.
Oh, yeah.
And if he takes one look inside at the quarterback, they know what's coming.
Yep.
He manned him up and made it look like it was man-to-man coverage. And then he didn't even change his eyes. Boom, he took off to that quarterback and just mashed Ewers. I rose up out of my seat and was like, boom, there you go. That was the best play, one of the best plays of the game. I just loved it. Good for Dalen Everett. It was massive.
It was,
and that ball's bouncing around. That ball's, everybody's trying to scoop and score, and he ends up with the football. You know,
which was crazy. Yeah,
I was like,
I'm sure Kirby and the coaches, whether they talked about it today or tomorrow, say sit on that damn ball.
Get on that ball.
Hero.
Yeah. So Dalen Everett, what a game!
Yeah, by far his best game of his career.
And overcame an early PI, which that's devastating for a cornerback. Forgot about it and kept playing.
Look, Dalen Everett, I said it. He's been reading the message boards. He's been doing something. He's been searching his name on Twitter. He's been doing something because folks were calling for Ellis Robinson to take his job. We didn't see one snap from Ellis Robinson.
Nope.
Dalen Everett and Julian Humphrey both played all 80 snaps.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that's your guy. And this was his best game of his Georgia career by
100%.
far.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, easily best thing.
What you got, Andy?
So I got Mykel Williams. He had, and this may be his best game of his career. He only had 3 total tackles. There were 3 solo, but he had 2 sacks and 2 tackles for loss. But like Eddie had mentioned earlier, he makes everyone else on that defensive line better. You see he's healthy. He was causing havoc, and they're looking at him, and that gives a defensive tackle. That gives another outside linebacker. That gives someone else welcome back, Mykel Warren. Exactly, Coach Hayes. He is making everyone better, and he's healthy. And to me, that was his best game of his career. So,
Scott Anderson and Dustin, they've got my guy, and this is
number 11
low-hanging fruit, but there's a reason. Jalen Walker, man, led the team in tackles, had 8 tackles, all of them being solo, by the way.
Yes,
3 sacks, 4 quarterback hurries, was everywhere. And I said it on last night's show. I don't know what position he plays, guys. I guess you can list him as the outside linebacker.
Who cares?
I'd love for Brent Rollins to break this down for me. Sometimes I text Brent, and I don't know if he ever breaks it down for me or not, but I text him little things. I'm like, hey man, can you break this down? So maybe I'll say it to Coach Hayes. Coach, can you break down what position Jalen Walker plays for me?
What is he?
Because he's in there as a middle linebacker essentially, but CJ is playing. Let's say he's playing back here. And then the outside linebacker is playing way up here. Jalen plays like in between those two. It's a weird kind of formation that they run, and I don't know what position he plays. He plays the freak position.
He's the freak. That's
a good call. That's a good call.
Spying the quarterback, doing everything out there, and the way that he is a leader for this team. He was the one that handed Kirby Smart the 100.
I was going to mention that
game ball. he's the type of kid that you want your son to grow up and be like. He does things the Georgia way. And shout out to Jalen Walker. I'm just so happy that he's being utilized the way that he should, because
he's a freak. The dude's a freak. And let's shout out the defensive coaching staff, because Kirby said we had to get uncomfortable with how to use him. And and I said, oh, are we missing Boom? Do we need Muschamp to be there? We were questioning some things, and they stepped up big this week. The coaching staff had a really good plan against an elite offense. So, hey, give them a shout out too. So yeah, Jalen Walker's, he's our best player on defense. So,
Paul, can I ask you a question here, Paul? I want to ask you a question. So you've watched this team a long time. You covered this team a long time, and there have been years past where it's evident going into the year who the leaders are. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Brock Bowers, etc. We know who our leaders are. And I said it last week. I didn't like this team. It was a lack of leadership. Something was up with this team, right? It just didn't. Something was not jiving. It seemed to me last night that leaders stepped up.
They did.
Now maybe they were leaders and I didn't know it. You didn't know it. And they were leaders in the locker room, and it showed out last night. Do you think, Paul, that maybe leaders became evident last night, and that's a good thing going forward? Or were they leaders all along and we just didn't know it?
I think they've been leaders all along, but I think they showed it last night. All three of the guys we named on the defensive side of the ball are the leaders of this team, plus Malachi Starks. We knew Starks was a leader, but these other three guys, we didn't know if they were – we knew they were good, right? We didn't know if they were leaders. I think we found out last night all three of those guys that we named are leaders. Coach Hayes brings up, he says he plays what I call a spur, third linebacker that plays as a third inside linebacker but can walk up as an outside linebacker on edge opposite to the jack. He plays both inside, outside linebacker depending on nickel, mint, or dime.
I love the spur. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's
the spur. Cool. I'm going to call him the freak, though. So
yours is better. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and coin that one.
So on offense, let me turn that around. I think the leaders last night were ETN and Dom Lovett, right? Because Dom when something bad happened, Dom got everybody together and said, hey, chin up, let's keep going. And Kirby said, I didn't even know about that. Yeah. And he took over the team. So I think it's ETN and Dom Lovett on the offense.
Yeah, I think so. And you need your quarterback to be that leader as well. Maybe some more. And we've been told Carson's not a vocal leader. He leads with his actions. Maybe a little bit more.
Got to be a little.
Yeah.
I think you got to have a little of it. Yeah.
Show me a little bit more. Show me that you're upset. Show me you're angry. Let's.
Yep.
But he's just not wired that way. I don't think that's going to change.
I don't think it is either. But one can dream, right? One can dream. Dogs are off next week, guys. And then you've got to head down to Jacksonville, play those Florida Gators who they're having to win. They're winning some football games.
They have a little lag. Yeah.
Yeah. They I don't know how. Couldn't tell you. Be honest to God, I kind of quit watching that team after the first few weeks. I was like, that this game isn't relative to my football watching. And they look all right. They won 48-20 against Kentucky. Then again, they have the bye week too. This is always a thing for both of those schools.
Yeah.
They had a freshman from Decatur run for 106 yards. What? And 5 touchdowns?
5 touchdowns. Yes. True freshman halfback and a true freshman quarterback. The first time it's happened in Florida history, I believe. So
Lagway's the truth, man. I don't know if Billy Napier will be there next year. If he's not, you might see Lagway get the highest NIL deal you've ever seen on the face of the planet. He is the real deal for that. He looks good. True freshman. Shout out to them winning 48-20 against Kentucky. Kentucky's a tough team. They put up more points than Georgia did against Kentucky.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to see real quick before we do this to ourselves all the time? We got 5 minutes left to talk about the Falcons.
Yeah.
And
that's fine. That's fine.
I mean, it's
good.
Totally fine. What do you want to see out of this offense, defense, out of this off week? Anything you want to see less drops, I'm assuming? I
think that's the obvious thing, less drops. But I want the offensive line to continue to get healthy. And I want us, because I don't know that passing the ball 41 times is the recipe for us to win the national championship. I think we've got to be more in that 32 to 35 range and be able to run and play bully ball. So I want to see the offensive line to get healthy, to be able to run the ball, I want to see, 150 yards rushing, 175 yards rushing. I want to get back to more of I'm not going to say a traditional Georgia offense, but more of a traditional power style offense for the Dogs.
Is Tate Ratledge going to be healthy?
Oh, yeah.
Florida?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's big. That's big. Here's what I want to see. Running quarterback, DJ Lagway. Don't get past him. Don't let him kill you, because Ewers is not a running quarterback. We saw what Arch Manning did that one play, whatever. We blew him up. But we have trouble. I think every team in the nation has trouble with running quarterbacks. Please, for the love of God, don't overrush DJ Lagway. Make him pay.
Yeah. One other thing you can do, guys, is you can go to howardcomputers.com. And maybe the Georgia staff can go over here. They've got everything, man.
They do.
Get some audio visuals out there on the field. See who the leaders are. Put the computer systems to work, Andy. See if you can't track down what's happening with this offense. They've got everything for you. Andy, tell us a little bit more about these guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you see right there, physical security. They have everything that you're going to need in meeting rooms or even in your home. If you need a personal computer, they'll hook you up with that as well. Paul, they're asking when you're going to order yours, so be ready. But yeah, you can get anything you need technology from these guys. They're great guys. They big Mississippi State fans, and then there's a lot of Dawg fans, and that's how I got speaking with Justin Allen. He's a big Georgia Bulldog fan. So yeah, go check them out. They'll hook you up with anything you need. There you go, software, hardware, anything. So
yeah, they've literally. This is when Andy came to us and said, "Hey, I've got a potential sponsor for the show." I said, "Okay, well, what are they about?" He said, "They deal with technology." I said, "All right, cool." I went over to the website. Dude, they literally deal with everything technology you could imagine. And if you need technology, you're a small business owner, they've got software for you. They've got literally everything you can think of there. Yeah. And the University of Georgia uses these guys. So they're legitimate.
We use them all the time. They're going to be coming out to look at another room for us.
Beyond said, I need a hard drive. Hit up howardcomputers.com. Hit up Andy on Twitter. He can get you in touch with the guys. Jermaine says a tech sponsor. Now this is more my speed. Yeah. These guys over here are like a true, I can't think of a bigger technology company that out there. James says maybe they can unplug and plug Carson back in.
Maybe reboot the system, baby. Reboot the system. So.
Hey, that's what they say, right? That's what you got to do.
That's right.
Before we talk about the Falcons, Andy, I actually would rather talk about the Georgia High School Association.
I agree.
And they are actually sponsored by Howard Technology Solutions, who they serve higher ed, they serve K-12, they serve government, medical, business, enterprise. Need any technology assistance, give Justin Allen a call. They recently upgraded 2 meeting rooms over there at the Georgia Center for Andy and those guys, and they're adding new speakers, projectors, and video conferencing. So they've got it all. Talk to me about this. What happened in the GHSA?
Well, I'll tell you what did not happen. Monroe area was off. They did not play, but they are playing Oconee County in Monroe this week. So Paul, Eddie, right here. Are we going to go to the game next Friday night to watch?
No, absolutely not.
You're not going to support your team? Dude.
Wow. That was shut down really fast.
In Monroe, that's like an hour from me. Maybe. I'll give you a maybe.
Okay, we'll play it by ear. But
that's a no for me, dog.
That's definitely a no for you guys. That's still an hour for me as well. But I was like, you know what? I'll support Paul's high school. Screw them. I don't care. I hope they lose. So, Oconee County, though, they who's going to beat Monroe area next week? They lost this week to Cherokee Bluff 17-10. And dude, Marist, how about this team they are murdering people. They beat Cherokee Bluff they beat Clarkston 56-0.
Yeah.
Like they are just.
Have you talked to Paul? Have you talked to Coach Etheridge about our free tickets and nachos?
No, I haven't. I need to text him about that.
I would.
Point. Okay.
You're not going to go. Clearly, you're not going to go watch. So.
No, I'll go to like I said, free entry and free nachos.
Nachos. Okay.
I'm there.
I need to follow up on that. I'll text him. Yeah.
Buford again, another machine powerhouse. They beat Central Net 50-0. Yeah. And then Prince Avenue Christian beat my Franklin County Lions 56-6. Yeah, they destroyed them. I don't even know why they're playing. That's not even fair.
Who's the kid that was at was it Mayfield at Franklin County? DeMario Mayfield that went to Georgia or was supposed to go to Georgia play basketball?
I think he was in Hart County, right? Was it Franklin? I
think he was at Franklin. I'm not sure. Either way,
I don't know. But yeah,
I played against him and it was not fun.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. Athens Academy beat Elbert County 35-34. That's a good game.
That's a good game.
And Harrison beat Osborne 47-0. So Harrison's a machine too. Like
Harrison playing really well.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good high school football, and I was trying to go, but I guess we're not going to do that. So whatever.
You can go. We're not stopping you.
That's a good point.
John says, "Hey, look at Eddie flexing by that pool. Man has more folding money than P Diddy has baby bottles." Ooh. Has bottles of baby oil.
I don't know about that comparison.
That's rough there.
Yeah.
Real quick, guys. Falcons lost 34-14. Terrible game. Absolutely just terrible. I thought this was going to be a win.
I did too.
Yeah.
There was nobody in the crowd.
No, I know. Paul, you bring that up. I noticed that at the beginning of the game, they showed the crowd. There's thousands of empty seats. Thousands. And I know it's always a late arriving crowd. Are there thousands of empty seats at Sanford Stadium when we play? No. Are there thousands of empty seats when Atlanta United plays? No. Why is that? Why do Atlanta Falcons fans don't come to the game and support their team from the kick? I don't get it. It makes no sense.
Dawg says everybody was hungry from last night.
Who gives a crap? It's a different audience, actually. And I could hear on the TV people screaming the Seahawks chant. I could hear that coming through my TV. It's ridiculous. And then, of course, the Atlanta Falcons show up and play like my daddy's Falcons. Just kick me in the nuts again. It's just it's unbelievable. So the game, the season comes down to next week against the Bucs. That's it.
It does.
James Carraway says nobody wants to watch the D-line titty fight for 3 hours. Yeah, it's not great football. I thought they were going to win. Who do they have next week?
The Bucs. It's the season.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Because you have to win the division. The way the NFC is, you have to win the division to get in the playoffs. You have to.
Yeah. And Ed Pollock said Falcons empty seats are because the team doesn't show up like they did today. And I think that's probably right. We're just kind of programmed to think.
I think part of it is because that's just the way the fans are. They're out there partying in the parking lot or partying in the whatever, the barber shop or whatever the hell's going on in there. It's just a, I don't know.
I forgot that there is, isn't there? Yeah, there is a barbershop.
That's actually at the Hawks. I'm wrong about that. But whatever. You get my point, right? They're doing other crap and not supporting the football team. It's a show. It's ridiculous. But to your point, Andy, the team comes out there and craps on your face. So, why go out there and support them? Because it's a lot of money to go out there and support this team. And they look like ass today.
And I texted you guys, I was like, I know this may sound bad, but when the Falcons lose, it doesn't hurt me, and James even said, he's like, yeah, I watch the Falcons on the couch. I stand up when the Dogs are playing. And that's me. I pace.
Well, that's true.
When the Dogs are playing, I'm going back and forth. And when the Falcons are playing, I'm like, oh, cool. So that's how it is. It's just a different
one to win.
I definitely do as well. But it is when the Dogs win, everything's fine. It makes everything better.
Yep. Well, guys, we appreciate you watching with us. Thank you so much. Before you head out, real quick, share this with 2 of your friends, and then also hit that like button. 3 friends, Andy?
3 friends.
I don't have 3 friends, so that's why I keep saying 2.
Well, you got 2 of them, and they're in here. But after
no, you have one. You have one in here, not 2.
Yeah. I've got you, Andy. I've got to find another one. We appreciate you guys so much for watching. We'll be back next weekend. We'll talk a little bit over football, basketball starting soon. Hawks, no?
Yeah, the Hawks are preseason, but hey, Georgia basketball, Garrett Key,
Hey, you know what? Didn't we say next week
we were going to do the Braves? Yeah,
we were going to do a little Braves
hot stove
rebuild.
Yeah,
we'll do some Braves rebuild, and we'll touch on some Georgia basketball because I tell you what, I'm excited about this Georgia basketball team.
Absolutely.
Chris Hayes, you guys do a great job. I don't care what Eddie says about you, Tim, and I know Eddie talks shit.
Nor do they.
Guys, we appreciate you. Peach State Power Hour, Paul Maharry, Andy Stowe, Eddie from Acworth. We'll see you next Sunday. Thanks.